on the future of the undergraduate education, careers beyond convention, and the role of Gen Z in shaping tomorrow. Today, we continue this journey with equally exciting sessions and inspiring leaders who are shaping India's academic and entrepreneurial ecosystem. So, next we dive into an important conversation, the role of schools in shaping UG readiness. Our distinguished panelists bring diverse perspectives. So, let me welcome Dr. Maya Sukumaran, a visionary leader with decades of experience in the school education. Please give a round of applause. Next, can we have Ms. Kavita representing Indus International School, known for her forward-looking approach to academic leadership. And next, we have Ms. Mahua Gorti, founder of Ladder Consulting, who has guided countless students and institutions toward building a strong academic foundation. And this panel would be moderated by a parent of our UG students, Mr. Ravi Vemuri. So together they will unpack how schools can go beyond academics to prepare students for higher education and life. Let's welcome our panel.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure to be here with you, ma'am. And
Same here.
Coincidentally, my kids used to go to Indus International.
I just got to know that, both the kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
What a distinct pleasure it is to be here and to be on this August panel. This is just a guideline. We'll kick things off and then we'll take it as it comes. So without further ado, I request the audience to interrupt me whenever you have a question. Feel free. This is a interactive session. It may not feel like one, but please participate. That's the best way to get the maximum output. So welcome to the panel, ma'am, and welcome to this wonderful morning. There was a nice shower, and everything is fresh right now because I feel this Hyderabad weather in September is going to continue through to October. So let the good times roll, and schools are a big part of the good times for students. I'm a firm believer that teachers mold kids. Once parents have a chance to hand off the kids to the schools, schools are the primary molders of children. And in that perspective, I have a couple of questions for you. I will kick things off with Mayaji. In your view, what role do schools play in preparing students for undergraduate education, and how does early exposure to diverse pathways help?
So a very good morning to one and all, and I would like to thank Team Bava for inviting me here for this healthy discussion. And in fact, this started during COVID times. I would say that I had got associated with two other universities who are the new age universities, and they wanted to build in a bridge between schools and universities. And I thought that was actually brilliant. And because what normally schools would do is just look into the, what they need to do, finding that students are all getting into the right universities, that's it. But how to actually exist in that university for 3-4 years would be very challenging for children. So this gave me a thought, and I was a principal then of one of the schools in my group of schools. And there I thought, yes, I think we need to look into this aspect, and started, looking at pathways, So the first pathway I thought was encouraging children for, self-directed learner, to make them a self-directed learner. I think that's very important to make the students find their own learning pathways. And I think the best was when you're doing this, you need to give at least 1 hour in a week called the Genius Hour, or give them opportunity for, doing their projects, self-directed projects. And we did have students who got into it, and I felt that not only has given them a clarity, for a spark for creativity, but also would taught them the vital skill in self-motivation, which is very, very important to get into, when they are in the university environment. The next very important thing is to give them a growth mindset and also resilience in students. That is, they should be allowed to articulate not only their goal setting, but also all the obstacles and I would say strategies. This builds perseverance and adaptability in facing any kind of academic or even personal challenges in a university life. So this I thought was very important. Another emphasis was on inculcating personalized learning system. A lot was spoken about AI. Yes, I did bring in that kind of a system, having groups of teachers and students working together. I'm talking about this, which was done by me when I was in school 4-5 years back with the help of parents. Some parents who are really experts in that, got them involved, got the teachers trained, sat along with the teachers for the training. And before that, 1 year before, so I would say 6 years back, was when we started coding. I said, I need coding by all the teachers, and they need to teach at least one chapter using coding. And actually they were all first very lost, but again I got involved with a few organizations, and I said, I want you all to help my teachers to get into that. So let it be a Telugu teacher or a Hindi teacher, it's very, very important, this kind of an exposure. So I believe in the teachers first opening their mind towards that, building that kind of a bridge between schools and universities. Okay, so a lot more are there, but I would definitely like the others to speak on. Thank you.
Quite fantastic. For those of you in the audience, in Silicon Valley, in Google, they had a 5-day work week. Actually, they had 7 day into 12 hours a day, but 5-day work week officially. On the 5th day, the employees would be allowed to do whatever they wanted. They would work on their projects of interest or research of their interest, and Google found extraordinary productivity as a consequence. So G for Geetanjali and G for Google, I mean, both of them are on the same frequency.
No, I think with this I would say I'm a Google educator since 2012, and I got all my teachers, nobody knew about, getting involved with Google and becoming an educator there is going to give you a lot of exposure. But that was transformed to all the teachers getting certified into computational thinking.
Fantastic. I'm very inspired by you, ma'am. Just a quick question, moving on. From your consulting experience, Mahuaji, what are the biggest gaps between what schools prepare students for and what undergraduate education actually demands? A step further, what practical steps can schools take to close this wide chasm?
Thank you for asking that. First of all, congratulations team Boer. I think fantastic sessions that you organize. Very inspiring, lovely. Secondly, I think you must not like me much because you put me in between educators and asking me the gap between the school and...
You are the bridge, ma'am.
So, on a more serious note, I was very fortunate to see the evolution that the Indian schools have had, because I have 2 teenage children. One in 19 just got into his undergrad, and the other one is in 10th in that self-discovery area. So whatever I'm now going to speak is out of my own experience of consulting, like you said, from the HR perspective, when we say talent, ready talent, etc., from that perspective, and from the perspective of seeing firsthand these 2 kids grow, right? So the schools have really done a lot of different things in the last decade and a half. I'm speaking from the critical mass perspective from different states. Let's say somewhere in Orissa or somewhere in, that's the critical mass, right? 70% of the students come from a different kind of education system. So what I see, the gap, as you mentioned, the first thing that comes up is the way the students learn in school It's more like, there is a direction, there is a competition, and suddenly then when they go to UG, then they have to do a lot of project collaborating with a group of people. So in my view, the problem solving quotient for the child, okay, they have to really learn it. Then they go in the first year of UG, just goes in understanding critical thinking. How do I solve this problem? How do I look at it from a different perspective? Okay. Now, second thing that happens is that they are in a competitive learning environment. Frankly speaking, in school, so with my daughter right now, and many such 9th graders, 10th graders, either there's a group of students who are really highly competitive. They are 90%, they want to have 98%. They are 98%, they want to have 100%. So they are competing with each other. Or else there is another group of people who are not that special class, and then they start comparison, self-comparison. Oh, this is too hard for me. I'm not good in maths. Or that guy can have 98 and main to abhi, I'm just 60%, and how do I go? So they are either competitive or, comparing themselves. Now they go to UG. Now they are supposed to do a group project. No, what is happening is, this first half, first group of competitive children, they are dominating that group project. They are saying, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, and that's all going. And the people who are comparing themselves, they are always submissive, or they are, trying to say, oh, he's saying, so must be correct, let me just support. So there is that gap. None of these groups are actually able to contribute to their maximum, okay? What would happen if from the school level itself, there is a collaborative study, there is a group study which is encouraged, is fantastic. Just to think of it as fantastic, and just to see certain schools where I have seen, I'm sure, ma'am at Gitanjali or you're doing so many activities, but if a majority of the school take that collaborative mindset, that will be amazing. One last point which I'm really passionate about is the emotional intelligence that the child absorbs, the self-discovery in my view, in 14, 15, and 16 years of age. The self-discovery is what shapes them for UG, frankly. Because I've seen students who go to UG and can't take the pressure because they don't know themselves. They're always under stress. So I think these are the three things where there is a gap that is existing from not school alone, I would say from the entire society, from parents also. Yeah. So
fantastic point. I believe in collaboration, and all my fellow students in my high school also used to believe in collaboration, but they used to blame me that during exams I was not collaborating with them by showing my answers. So Ravi, you used to write exams like this. They used to say that. I forgot all about my high school, and we had a get together, and they were saying you never showed your answers in the exam. But I fully endorse the collaborative approach. When I look at my own educational history, right, I could have achieved a lot more by sharing, caring, and giving, and helping fellow students who were slightly behind. I did teach when I was in my 10+3. I did a 10+3, and the teaching, the sharing part of it was far more helpful to me than it was to the other students who were receiving it. So I believe in collaboration. Thank you for the excellent point.
On a lighter note, spoken exactly like a competitive student. Because see, one thing is lost with the people who are, doing well. They think that I can do for others. No, there are the other group who can contribute in, aspects which we can't think of. Maybe you can't think of. There is when you're in 8th, 9th standard, there's another child who is subdued, but is giving you a perspective which is very different than you. You could have learned that. That's my point.
Dr. Ajit ji, he was speaking earlier, and he was talking about Mr. Deshpande. He's one of his teachers, and he remembers him fondly. I remember so many of my mentors, but I'm also inspired by my son. When he was growing up, I would try to help him. Hey, let me help you, let me do this. He would say, Dad, I want to do this all by myself. You talked about self-directed learning. Fantastic point. I'm grown up, but these are lessons for me even today. Self-directed learning, of doing things by yourself so that you know exactly what it entails. I just had a chance to participate in a startup pitch by a gentleman who has designed software simulations for all toys. I'll introduce you to that company. They are going for a round of funding. And people asked, the whole point of doing a kit assembly, toy assembly, is tactile experience. You're doing it by hand. And he made a great point. There are higher level, higher order thinking that is far more important. During the age groups from 3rd class to 8th class, it's far more important for them to understand the higher level. If you give a kit and the kit itself gives you a lot of starting trouble, then it's going to be a big deal. These students who were exposed to that software ramped up their higher order skills so fast that when they were thrown with the real kits, they perform way better. So now about 3,000 schools in US are adopting that software tool. I will share the details with you. But this is a good segue to Kavitaji. First of all, thank you to Indus for such a wonderful leadership programs. I mean, my kids used to go to Bengaluru every year. As part of a leadership inculcation. I myself am a big avid trekker in the Himalayas and everywhere. And I believe education is an ongoing process.
It is.
In that perspective, can I ask you a couple
Yes,
of questions?
sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
please. How can schools cultivate global perspectives and cross-cultural readiness for undergraduate pathways? And an auxiliary question is, what role does international exposure
All right.
and experiential learning play in shaping undergrad-ready students?
Thank you, sir. In fact, good morning, everyone. I am privileged to sit here because I feel like, everyone here has a lot of experience. So just to give a brief about myself. So I am a liberal arts student. I come from the very first batch of Flame, if in case you've heard of Flame University, which is in Pune. So we were the guinea pigs, literally, right? So, and at that point of time, I think I am like, into 90s. It's not so the Gen Zs or the next one. So that time it was more of, doing MSET and either getting into engineering or either you're becoming a doctor or you're becoming an engineer. So, but then my dad was like, I think this looks something different and exciting. Do you want to try it out? I think my dad was the one who actually took a step. And I feel that parents play an important role in shaping the whole schooling of, the child. So that was my first step to, probably think that, it is the life skills that you build in school that help you kind of take it forward. And it's just not getting a 45 or a 45 in your exams. So how are you preparing your child to get a 45 for life and not a 45 in your academics? I think that was like a biggest reflection for me after probably I graduated from Flame. So then I didn't know what to do because it was a new year. We were exposed to 20 different subjects, including dance and foreign languages. So then I had to take a year off because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So then I felt probably I think I should try getting into the field of education with not so much of thought. So I did join my Master of Arts in Education in Azim Premji University. So I don't know how I landed up there, but I did finish my Masters. Then I graduated. I directly got into a school. That was my first job in Bangalore, where I worked with a Head Start school, which is a Krishnamurti Foundation, right? So then I had to do my internship in Rishi Valley. And I got to see that, how kids get to build skills, right? It's not about getting marks, right? It goes much beyond the textbooks, right? So they do carpentry, they look at birds. I think they get 10 minutes of break time, and it was so fascinating to see kids coming out and looking at birds and discussing about how this is like a paradise flycatcher. It was just fascinating. I think, like Krishnamurti says, education is not about probably just reading and getting grades. It's about, appreciating the nature. That is something that education is probably all about. I think considering that, I just want, sorry, I went off the topic, but just to come back, I want to say that academics is just not education. I think education has a social purpose, I feel. And it's about how we nurture an entrepreneurial and probably an exponential mindset for the world we do not know. I think it's so-called VUCA world. The world is so uncertain, complex, and there's so much ambiguity in this world. So how are we preparing our kids? Because I think if we see the kids of this generation especially, they've become so vulnerable, and I mean, if in case they don't, like some friend doesn't accept a friend request, they're so depressed, right? I think social media has a lot to play in this, definitely, but the kind of exposure that kids are getting to, I think the skills that we as educators need to inculcate, skills like empathy, resilience, how to bounce back in a situation where they fail. I think these are the most important qualities that I see as an educator to build in students. And like Sir said, at Indus, we have a couple of programs that I thought probably I would discuss. We have something called as an innovation curriculum. Apart from academics, I think kids get to build and work on a lot of projects which involve design thinking process, right? So they do empathize, they look at what the problem is, and they come up with a problem. Like, say for example, I say, okay, it's raining, what do you think you could design? Probably like design something on your own. And I see students designing an umbrella with a paper, right, and with an iron thing. Okay, so why does paper not work when you're probably making an umbrella out of a paper? So then they realize that yes, it gets wet, and probably it doesn't last. So why not iron? It's too heavy. So I think these are the things that we need to make our children think about. I think these are the skills that we need to help them develop, is what I feel. I think that is one thing. And we also have a lot of events that we conduct at school, like say for example MUN, Model United Nations. I think kids get to know a lot about what's happening internationally, like global politics, right? So they get to know what's happening in the other countries. That is one thing. Simulations on global retreats, right, that's happening. That could be one of the reasons. I think these are the things that we actually conduct in school, so I'm just explaining those. And student-led conferences on the global politics, again, what's happening around the world. We have a lot of international, like especially from indigenous communities, people coming and talking about what's happening in their countries. I think all these lead to an exposure towards what's happening around the world, and I feel this doesn't happen just like that. I think unless and until you know what's happening around you, I think it's important to make sure you connect with the local community to understand what's happening globally. So unless and until you don't understand what's happening around you, I don't think you can do something internationally. So I would say that I think you should probably think globally and act locally, is something that, probably, I think, if I'm not taking so much time in expressing
Quite fantastic
my views.
response.
Thank
yeah?
you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ms.
Thank you.
Katha. A couple of points I would like to touch on. I mean, I remember growing up in my high school, and there was a kid from West Bengal. His name was Banerjee. He looked different. He smelled different. They ate a lot of fish. He was our neighbor. That was my international exposure when I was a kid. My kids were enrolled in Indus, and they had students from South Korea. And so for them, students from South Korea, why did they decide to come to India and study here? What was the context? What was the justification? There was a lot of exposure there. They understood that the world was wide open and that people are mobile and there are perspectives to be learned there. Jiddu Krishnamurti Foundation, you mentioned that experience. I mean, one of the things I learned about Jiddu Krishnamurti Garu from Jiddu Krishnamurti Garu was observe without judgment. Observe nature, appreciate nature, embrace things as they exist without judgment. I know the audience is here hearing us without judgment, without questions, but would you like to ask any questions to the panel, any of you? If you'd like, feel free to formulate your questions and I will continue the panel discussion. This is a question to all of you panelists. You can take turns one after another. This is about parent-school partnership, and this also segues nicely into the next panel, which is primarily about parents. You talked about your dad encouraging you to join Flame University, and the kids these days will be very, very reluctant to take any input from their parents. But I appreciate your dad for being exposed to Flame at that time. It was a very early experience where you're deviating from the mainstream university. So that was fantastic. I would like to explore that more. As the question is, how can schools work more closely with parents to ensure students are undergraduate ready in mindset, not just in marks?
Yes. I would say way back, again, I think in 2011, if I'm not mistaken, STEM education was absolutely new in the Twin Cities. So nobody spoke about it. So now we need to tell the parents we are going to introduce this. So how do we do it? There were 2 weekends when we requested the parents to please come on to the campus and have a hands-on experience on something that we are going to start new. So we didn't tell them that it was STEM education. So parents came and they just loved doing all the project work that actually was going to be taught during the STEM education classes. So then slowly we disclosed to the parents, this is something that we are planning to integrate science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And we wanted you all to experience this. So I am okay about we introducing this. So that was the first. So whenever we start something new, we always involve the parents. We give them that exposure and we want them to experience it. So simple when entrepreneurship in 2016, I remember, and my first association with Pavan. So again, we wanted everybody to know. And for that, I said, I'm going to enroll my grandson. He was 8 years. I said, I'm going to enroll him in the 2-year program that they have. And like his parents, I said, no, you understand. I want you all to sit with him when he's going to attend the classes. So when he's attending the classes, his parents, then when they saw that I have taken the initiative, there were many parents who wanted to start enrolling and seeing. So this way we gave parents the hands-on. I feel it's very important to involve parents in every activity of the school. Today NEP speaks about parents should be there in this committee, in that committee, and we already had started getting the parents involved so that we can gain the confidence of parents, and the parents know if you're doing something for the students is definitely going to benefit in the long run. So entrepreneurship was something that we introduced in 2016 with the consent of the parents. So anything that you do, now we're talking about, I keep conducting workshop. Maths is my area. So I keep conducting workshop for teachers, and there I give an opportunity. I keep it open. Okay, parents can also attend. So we had one in integrating mathematics with AI and art. So the parents were quite worried. And I said maths should be taught as logical reasoning, science as inquiry, and humanities as exploration. Only if the school's approach is going to be in this format, we will not be able to keep the students ready to enter a university. And I would like to thank those universities who asked me to prepare some content and have one-to-one discussion how they can make the students comfortable who come from schools. So
great point, Mayaji. I should say that it's not just parents but grandparents as well, as Mayaji said. And Mayaji, your grandson's what's his name?
His name is Aryan Nair. In fact, he's not here now. He's in Mangalore. But at 8 years, he did that 2-year program. Thanks to Pavan, who convinced me that this is a very good. But I realized everybody at 8 years, what do they know? They don't know anything. But the confidence level in the child at the age of 10, soon after the pandemic, ISP, I think again with Mr. Pavan, they had a kidspreneurship that was put, and he went and presented his idea, and he asked for 2.4 lakhs, and the confidence in the child, I would say, is built only by exposing children. There is no age limit. If somebody has to learn at that age, and at my age, I keep learning. So I think I sit with children, and there is something new that they have to say. I think we need to say, I don't know this, can you please help me out? So I think that kind of a bond we create, and I would say that there is nothing. Now he's doing his A-levels at the age of 14. He's completing his A-levels. And then now we realize that I think it's a little too early for him to enter university. So we want to get him into 2 more courses so that by the time he's 15, 16, he is ready to get into the university. So all the things that we require for a university, we are trying to do at this age. So if he's that, and Cambridge was the only university who has no age bar. I have my student, I think in those days, in 2000, I would say, when they have actually got, the boy has been declared the youngest chartered accountant. See, I used to identify children when they were very young. 3rd standard itself, this child has a spark. Then I inquire, then get the parents. Call them and tell them, see, your child has a bright future. He will be able to do this. Why not? So he was, at 12 years, he finished his A-levels also. In 1 year, he finished 9, grade 9, that is IG 9, 10, AS level, A level, all. We gave him that 1 year, 1.5 years to complete it. At the age of 12, he was done. Youngest postgraduate, youngest graduate, youngest chartered accountant. All this he achieved only at that.
He's lucky. Your grandson is lucky to have a grandmother like you who enrolled him, I believe, in the Metamorphosis School of Entrepreneurship 2-year program.
Yes, it was a collaboration I think they had with IIT Bhubaneswar. So the certificates are from there. That was something nice.
Coincidentally, both my kids were enrolled in the 2-year program as well. And that was an extraordinary experience, and I firmly believed in it. One of the things you may or may not have realized, but your grandson was enormously successful because he got in at 8 years of age. And I can assure you, Mahuaji, because you have a 19-year-old teen, it's going to be a lot harder. It's going to be a lot harder to persuade them to do something that you believe in. It's going to be a lot harder. So what are your perspectives about the involvement of parent?
Absolutely. So, commendable, very inspired by Dr. Maya's words here. And I keep feeling that, how can schools bridge a kind of a gap with the parents? And I'm very passionate about it, so I'll just put it across because it's been recorded and I'm hoping a lot more educators can also hear this. Is, I call it like a failure record keeping. Like, for example, me and my husband, we visit schools for the parent-teacher meeting, right? And then in front of us, there are some 15 other sets of parents who are talking to the class teacher, and class teacher is saying, ye nahi kar raha hai, this, he is not doing this, she is not doing this. Parents are saying, you know what, she's so talkative, she's doing this, she's always with friends, Instagram pe hai, this, that. All these are complaint going on. Now, my question to us, ourselves, is that as a parent, am I the director of my child's future, or am I a guide to the child's future? So this mindset, if I have to shift from being directive to being a guidance-oriented parent, if I have to do that, then there is a opportunity there at the school with the parent-teacher setup, say that at least one PTM during the year, if the school guidance counselor can sit with the teacher and there's a panel, and in that panel, when the discussion with the parent is happening that my child is having so-and-so problem, she cannot focus at night, or she feels sleepy in the morning, or whatever the issues typically we talk. Now that failure to do a certain thing is also an opportunity for something. There should be a record being kept, and the guidance counselor can then educate the parent that, look, if your child is very active during 1 a.m. at night, maybe the biological clock is saying so. It may be bad, it may seem a disaster, but there could be some genuine reason to it. Why don't you nurture that? Or why don't you work on that? Or if the person has got only 40% in maths, and what do I do? Okay, then, how can you help it? So there is an opportunity there for the parent from being a directional parent to become a guidance-oriented parent. That was number one. Second, I also feel very strongly that there are certain things this generation, the upcoming generation, right? So whatever we are now doing for the 5 years down the line, these guys, they have so much to say. But as parents, we are quite judgmental. I'm sorry to say, I'm also, I'm observing in the profession also. Let's say they have an opinion about a certain shift in values that has happened, or I don't want to get married. I don't feel marriages of having any value. Okay, fine. And immediately at home, the thing is, you shut up, you don't know much. This is not the way you think. Is this the way you talk? No. If a school can do a panel discussion of the students of maybe 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, or whatever, saying that one uncomfortable topic, you do a panel discussion, and the parents have to just listen. They can ask their own questions non-judgmentally. If a panel discussion can happen where the kids are speaking their mind and the parents are just listening, I think if schools can facilitate that, that will be a wonderful thing to happen.
Great point, man.
Thanks.
Great point. Great point. I see Matrudeva Bhava, Pitrudeva Bhava, Acharya Deva Bhava. Here we are starting with the school, and then we will graduate to the parent session next. But these are three very important elements. One of the points that Ajit ji mentioned was, what did you teach your children before you asked me to teach ethics? A little earlier he mentioned that point. There was a 27-year-old at ISB, they said you should teach ethics. he asked, what did you teach at home to your kids? And so this is a nice segue to understand, like at Indus and Kavitaji, with your own personal experience, what are your thoughts about parents, school?
I think brilliant points brought up with both of you. So I just want to add couple of things. Basically, it's a partnership, I feel. I mean, it's parents, teachers, or parents, school, and the students. It's a partnership. You're all working together towards something. So while the school is trying to nurture things like empathy and probably resilience, if in case the parent is saying, no, I think you should get a 45, I think there's a clash. So it's very difficult for the child to go through that phase of, should I kind of focus on this or should I focus on this? I think parents play a very important role in reinforcing these skills, such as, whatever resilience that we talk about, or probably failures that the kids are going through. I think that is very important. I think that is one thing where the parents should reinforce this value. And the second thing is, I feel education starts from home, right? Again, coming back to this point of ethics. So what are we trying to teach our child? I think it starts from home. So it is again a partnership. So what you're doing at home goes on in school, and it's like a circle that goes on. So that is something that I want to bring. And the third thing is, I think parents should also take the role of counselors. I mean, because in this age, we see that it's very kind of saddening to see that, most of the parents do not have time to spend time with their children. And that is something which is lacking, and it does create, of course, they buy a lot of things. Materialistic thing is still there, but spending that quality time is missing out these days. So I think that is something that where parents play an important role as counselors is what I feel. So
great point
I think
again.
that's it. Thank you.
I have to go back to Krishnamurti Garu. When your child comes and then gives their perspectives, you have to hear them out without judgment, without questioning, without pushback, without any emotional resistance. Allow them to sort of communicate to you, and create time within your schedule to sort of allow them to speak. Give interaction spaces. Have an excuse to play with them. Play as in, like, when a child is bored, he will come and say, I want to play. He doesn't say, I'm bored. Typically, I want to go play. So play is when interaction happens. So you're able to understand their perspectives and everything. I know the audience has been patiently hearing this parry of questions back and forth. Did you have any questions? We would love for you to ask questions as well.